Welcome to Ape and Hodl. This is my channel, and we have an exciting interview with the head of product at the Algorand Foundation. We talk about recent and exciting new developments, how they're utilizing artificial intelligence, but most importantly, what really separates Algorand from all the other layer ones. If you want to find out, stay tuned. Let's get into it.
A brief introduction. I'm Alessandro Ferrari. I'm head of product at the Algorand Foundation. So I oversee all new features and products that the Algorand Foundation releases. Our biggest one at the moment is our new development kit and programming languages, which is Algo kit and Python. I also help the engineering team with some R&D tasks and missions that will soon see the light of day, and I cannot wait for people to see them.
Nice. Yeah, I was reading about the Algo kit and being able to code in Python. Could you kind of explain what that means and what's exciting about that?
People are usually used to developing in Web 2. This means the cloud, I see it as someone else's computer. But blockchains, so the EVM, the AVM, the Solana virtual machines, it's our computer. And if you have a shared computer, you take care of everyone's computer, on what you do of the computer. So it's all virtual machines in blockchains are fairly small in size and quite resource limited because all of the nodes have to be able to run them. So we decided to develop and integrate Python as a programming language because blockchain programming is hard. There's no way around it. If you come from Web 2, you have many constraints that you never thought of in your career. And by giving developers, one of our core principles in AlgoKit is meet developers where they are. So by giving developers tools that they already know and they are already used to, all of a sudden the step from Web 2 to Web 3 is an order of magnitude smaller. So we are trying to meet developers where they are, teach them young, because all high school programming classes and university Comp Sci 101 classes follow and use Python now. The whole AI craze is 90% on Python. So with Python, we are opening up the world of Web3 to all Python developers in the world.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
And it's starting to work as well. So I'm glad to see people picking up on it.
Yeah, have you seen any change in onboarding developers since releasing the Python?
We have run two bootcamp series in Italian and Spanish, and we have had I think now the number is 2,000 enrollments, 2,000 people going to those bootcamps, which is a stunning number, to be honest, because first and foremost, we decided with Python, there were all the data points indicating that Python was the correct choice, but until it's out in the world and people use it, you're never 100% sure. So the fact that we have over 2,000 people now in the bootcamps means that there is a need for it, and there is also people really interested in blockchain development.
Well, it's a no-brainer to decrease the path of resistance for developers to build on your blockchain. And if you're competing against picking a blockchain to build on as a developer and you have to learn an entire new coding language.
On top of it's a completely different programming paradigm, those are a lot of barriers. When I was an engineer, my litmus test was that in 5 minutes I didn't get the whole thing working. I'm on to the next one and I'll never look back. So that was what guided us a lot in how we decided to develop AlgoKit. So if you have your laptop, it should take maximum 15 minutes to get you to writing code. And this is something that, in my experience, for new developers, there is a lot of friction in onboarding because version X of tool A doesn't really work nice with version Y of tool B, and that is what developers deal with on a daily basis. So we really worked hard on this to be sure that the on-ramping experience was smooth, so that we decrease all possible excuses of saying, nah, this doesn't work, I'm out, onto the next chain.
Yeah. Do you also come from a engineering background or development?
So my background is fairly all over the place. I am a finance undergrad, but studying in London, it was mainly focused on banking and consultancy, and I didn't really like that that aspect. I learned how to code while I was in middle school, and always did some techie things during my high school years. But midway through my university degree, I realized that I don't want to go work in a bank. I like to play with technology. I like to bend computers to my will, instruct computers to do whatever I want to do. So let's pick it back up. I finished my uni degree and started working for a startup as an engineer. And the next job, call it karma, or I don't know, however you want to call it, I ended up working. I was the lead developer for a bank in Italy at the end of it. So I did everything to escape banking, and I ended up developing for a bank. After that, I decided to switch to product management, and finally crypto came along, and I'm like, yep, I'm all in.
Were you in the crypto space before you started working in the crypto space? Were you buying?
I have bought Bitcoin in 2012 off of an ATM in New York City. That's my first time, and so I've always kept informed there. I've been a DAO member and DAO contributor for quite a bit before officially switching side and going the layer one route with the foundation. But I have been in the trenches for quite a bit, and it's I love to see it, and it's always fun. I sometimes miss being simply an on-chain anon, but it's the work here is way more important and meaningful.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's great that you're also tapped into the space, and also that you come from a finance background is pretty interesting, because I think people coming, like, doing engineering, also having a full broad scope, depending on where you are in the space, it's great. But sometimes I've talked to some people, and it's like they know one singular focus about one aspect of crypto. And
yeah, the problem is that if being single focused, you sometimes don't see the bigger picture. And I was having a business, let's say training, and going into engineering. I wasn't the typical engineer of, okay, let's see how cool we can make this. I was more geared towards how functional we can make it. It's more often than not, the simplest solution is the best solution. So I struggled a bit in engineering, but now I can speak well with engineers. I still write code because it's still fun, but I can bring this balance between commercial awareness and technical feasibilities and technical skills, which is always nice. So I can contribute that maybe instead of creating something from scratch, like creating a new programming language, we should probably start adopting the thing that everyone already knows.
yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. You were saying that a lot of the AI, I always like to get into AI because it's just it's very hot, I guess, right now. Yeah. But it's going to change everything. It's changing everything. And I think how AI implements and is utilized in the crypto space is going to be interesting to see. And I always want to ask people how they see how, like, Algorand is going to use AI, or how you just kind of see these things meshing together.
Yeah. So we have a GPT-like bot that is trained on our documentation and smart contracts from our ecosystem. So developers, if they have questions, they can either on Discord or on our developer portal, they can ask questions directly to the bot, to Kappa AI, and they get answers to their problems. We use that first and foremost because there are many developers and there are only few of us, so the effort cannot scale one-to-one. But also it teaches us where our documentation is lacking, where we should improve on how we teach developers things. So we use it as a efficiency mechanism and also an excellent feedback route, because if everyone is asking a question like, say, how to create a transaction, all of a sudden maybe we should revisit how we've written that pieces of the doc. So this at the moment is how we're utilizing AI.
So that's also a large language model.
Yeah. Yes, this is an LLM. I think it's at the moment it's still GPT 3.5. There are a few. I've seen the new Llama 3 model coming out, and I'm playing around with it on my free time, and it's stunning. So I think we either that or what is it 4.0, the new OpenAI one.
ChatGPT 4, yeah, I think so. I'm waiting for Sora, is what I'm very interested in.
Also, it's the AI space. It's brimming with innovation at the moment, and it's stunning to see that. I'm following it extremely closely.
So that language model, is that on top of Algorand?
No, this is it's not on Algorand, but it's to use, and
the developers are using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, exactly. That makes sense. Exactly. Okay.
The model is trained on our documentation, so it can reply to developers' answers.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm kind of wondering, like, because also there's the compute power of these language models and AI. Like, AI needs massive amounts of compute power. Exactly. And I'm always thinking about if the crypto space or someone in the crypto space is going to decentralize compute power, so it's not all just taken by these large, like Amazon Web Services or NVIDIA. And I'm trying to think if like Algorand or if there's going to be any blockchain.
I think Martin Shkreli, I don't remember his on Twitter, has just launched an MVP on how to decentralize your GPU so that people can access and run models spread across the world. This is something really interesting that I'm also keen on exploring.
Did he say which blockchain is going to be utilizing it, or no?
No, he just launched it as a website. It's not a blockchain by itself, but it's just a way to access distributed computing power. I can send you the links afterwards.
Yeah, just so people can use their GPU power to add to compute, I guess, for AI models.
Exactly.
Do you know about, I was reading about the instant finality of Algorand and how it competes with other, because it says it's the only blockchain that has instant finality. Could you kind of explain what that means in maybe a more layman way that in comparison to kind of how other finality happens on other blockchains?
Absolutely. So usually you see this problem starts with Bitcoin and proof of work. It's part of the consensus algorithms of the blockchains themselves. So with proof of work, you can have more than one miner or mining pool, let's say it more frankly, propose a block at the same time. Both of them are valid. And so you have the chain that splits. In this case, you will have competing chains, so Bitcoin and Bitcoin 2, that keep on adding blocks up until something happens and one chain decays, and the other chain stills and becomes the main chain back. This is a problem with most consensus algorithms. Our founder, Silvio Micali, came up with pure proof of stake, which is a way that on Algorand, there is only one block at a time. So you cannot create a separate block and split the chain. This way, you may have noticed it during high traffic times on chain that you've bought an NFT, let's say off of OpenSea, if you're on Ethereum, and you refresh the page and that NFT is gone, and effectively you haven't bought it. This is what happens when chains split, and if you are on the wrong side of the chain, your transaction history disappears from that. So this, just simply with pure proof of stake, it's not possible on Algorand. So we have the mathematical assuredness that if a transaction is in a block, it's final. And the block runtime at the moment is 2.7, 2.8 seconds. So as soon as it's in the block, it's final. The block is propagated in 2.7 seconds. Then you can go on with your life.
Okay. Wow. Okay, great. Yeah, it's so interesting how I've talked to people from I just talked to a project manager from Avalanche, and I'm looking to I researched so many different projects, and it's like every project it seems like it's great in ways. And I'm talking to you, I'm like, well, this seems like a no-brainer. This should be
exactly. That's what we've been shouting from the roof.
So what is it? So what is the biggest obstacle then? What is like what makes Solana this, like why do you attain so much kind of success to the Solana blockchain, and yet it's dealing with tons of congestion? It was not really operating very well. I was trying to just move Solana at kind of its like peak, what was it, maybe a month ago or something like that, and the meme coins were going crazy, and it was just like it wasn't working. And I'm bullish on Solana, and I think, oh, they'll fix it, and people go, they'll fix it. But then you look at other projects, and it's like, oh, there's never been downtime, and oh, there's this, and oh, this works perfectly. And what do you guys see as kind of your guys' biggest obstacle, and why something like another layer one grab so much development and success and such?
So, well, first and foremost, no software is perfect. We haven't had downtime yet, I always like to add, because software is written by humans, and we as a species are not perfect. So it's not that there is such software that is bug-free. It's only that you haven't realized that there is a bug. As simple as that. So uptime is something that you can work and optimize for to the best of your abilities, but it's never 100% guarantee certainty. So this is in favor of Solana to this point. Then outages are good and bad. If you look at Solana, they have outages, but it's after all, they pick back up and it works. So what is the biggest obstacle to adoption? We have always thought of Algorand as the chain for real world adoption. And this takes a bit because you need legislation to be on board with blockchains to foster a real world adoption community. Some of the projects that we have on Algorand are groundbreaking, like Tokenized Real Estate from Lofty AI. This is something that I love. Or TravelX. TravelX is a company that creates NFT tickets for airplanes. So all of a sudden, if you know you can't make your flight, you can, instead of losing the money or paying a huge amount of fees to change the ticket, you can resell it, or you can gift it to your friend that says, yeah, sure, I'll take it, I'll go on holiday, and you just send it like you send an NFT. So we are focusing, the adoption we have on this is a lot. It's not much on Web3, though we have a fairly healthy DeFi ecosystem and NFT ecosystem, but we have a lot of real world adoption that isn't in the current meta, let's say, so it doesn't get too much publicized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, publicity and branding is so huge in crypto, because someone could be developing something incredible, but if the price is running on a certain token for whatever reason, that news is being spread or something, and the price is running, and then it kind of is a self-propagating thing where then more people learn about it, then more people want to be there, then more people buy the token, then the price goes up more, and such and such. Could you talk more about the tokenized real estate? I'm definitely interested to hear about how that's looking.
Lofty AI is a protocol that allows properties to be tokenized. So they pretty much created a platform where you can tokenize your house or someone else's house, and a DAO controls it. So you have DAOs deciding on who should they rent to, deciding on who should do the maintenance, and this is fully on chain. So you quite literally can start investing in real estate, even though you cannot buy a full house, and start managing it with your DAO members.
Wow.
This project is Lofty AI, and it's stunning because they operate in the US. They've just added a few more properties, and you can buy with USDC your stake, and it's all good.
Wow. I mean, I think that it definitely makes sense that real world assets should be on chain. I just kind of wonder how it works legally, if like the government enforces this or not, or say, oh, I own 20% of this house on chain, but they're like, well, that's not real.
I think they are actually, for each DAO is incorporated. I haven't dug deep into the specifics of it, but yeah, you're gonna pay taxes on the house you own.
Wow.
So it's actually owning it.
Wow. So there's been a lot of things like the ETF, the Ethereum ETF, Bitcoin ETF recently. How is that? What are your guys' thoughts from the Algorand, from like the foundation side, looking at the way regulation is changing for crypto, and what kind of what do you see kind of moving forward? Are you guys excited about something like the Ethereum ETF? And then there's even talk of a Solana ETF. And does it seem like there's more regulatory clarity coming?
Yes, at the end of it, Bitcoin, as always, leads the way, and it's legitimizing the industry. If you think of funds that hold trillions of dollars in assets, they have a compliance department that is usually bigger than your average blockchain layer 1 team. And if there isn't a law around it, if there isn't a, let's say, TradFi commodity around it, it will be difficult for compliance to allow them to actually get into the business of crypto. So these ETFs, Bitcoin was different because it's proof of work. The fact that Ethereum got approved, even though partially, I think it's not a full approval like Bitcoin's one. They're opening the gates of the crypto industry to the whole world. So I'm extremely happy about it. All regulation is good regulation to a certain extent. Then we may not see eye to eye on certain things, but at least they're starting to talk about the industry, and we are starting to see a clear path forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think with the Ethereum, it's like it's not actually traded yet, but it's basically like been approved that it will be traded in the future, or regulatory wise. I guess they claimed Ethereum was a commodity and not a security, which is probably really big for like all proof of stake blockchains, because there was a lot of narratives saying, oh, every proof of stake blockchain is going to be classified as a security.
If you look at Bitcoin maximalists and how they see everything that is not proof of work, yes, that is what they were saying. But at the end of it, decentralization is a spectrum, and so as soon as we get regulatory clarity on it, the better.
Yeah, I mean, when the SEC, I mean, I'm in the United States, so I'm looking at a lot of from an American perspective, but the SEC started basically like suing everybody after, I mean, the XRP was kind of the first, and then they went on after Coinbase, and they're going after all these projects, and during the last bear market, it was like a lot of the coins crashed, I think, because of this, but I think long term, it's probably good overall for the crypto space. That, I mean, it seems like they're kind of losing all of these cases. It doesn't really seem like the SEC has like won really very many of these lawsuits, and every time they lose, it basically builds more foundation, it builds more clarity and more trust in the space for people who are in it.
Yeah, it creates precedent. So all of things that bring us towards regulatory clarity, I welcome.
So if you were to, I don't know if you can or not, but if you were to, because for the person watching this, a lot of like people on YouTube, they're just buying and selling the tokens. If we're being honest, they're trying to make money. It is what it is.
Yeah, 99% of people in this industry are.
Yeah, and there's some people who are really building things, which is great. Yeah. We need those people who are really building things. And in the long term, I think crypto is going to affect, many aspects of financials and technology in the world, true Web3. but seems for the short period, people are still just really gambling and trying to make money and investing in these very speculative things. But we're always comparing blockchains. We're always like looking at, and Algorand is in the layer one space, so it's being compared to all these other layer ones. If you could say, this is what like separates Algorand from these other layer ones, what would you say that would be?
We have a transaction finality that is fit for everyday life. If you can envision a way that with your crypto wallet, you'll pay for your groceries and not have to wait 15 minutes on at the side of the counter for the shop to be sure that the transaction finalized, that is Algorand. And that is the future that we're trying to build. We are trying to get a real world adoption and fulfill the promise that was crypto in the first place.
Nice.
Of disintermediating middlemen.
Yeah. What do you think about proof of stake? There's a couple proof of work projects, like Caspa has come up. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people who are like proof of work maximalists, and people talk about how proof of stake is either not decentralized or it's not as secure. What are your thoughts on the proof of stake versus proof of work arguments, and coming from kind of the Algorand perspective?
The argument of proof of stake not being decentralized compared to proof of work, it's kind of difficult to make, in my opinion, because if you remove F2 pool from the equation, if someone gets a hold of F2 pool keys, all of a sudden you have, I think, 35% of the Bitcoin network under control. So Bitcoin is decentralized because of proof of work, yes and no. There are 3 mining pools that control the vast majority of the Bitcoin network. The only real project that I see fully decentralized that is a project that cannot allow pooling, and it's Monero. That is the purest form of decentralization, in my opinion. But then decentralization is difficult, and proof of work, I like it, but I do understand that you cannot spin GPUs like crazy simply because it has a cost on the environment. Then we are talking about this in the midst of an AI craze where everyone's spinning GPUs like crazy, so it doesn't still hold up too much. Proof of stake is cleaner, more elegant. It doesn't require as much computation, so it's healthier on the flaming rock that we are living on, that is Earth. So I think there are merits and demerits to both. At the end of it, nothing is perfect. Realistically, if you want to build something that can hold the entire world's transactions, proof of work cannot be as fast and cannot be as efficient as proof of stake.
Yeah. In terms of actually handling all those transactions, it doesn't really seem possible based on like the gas fees of all these proof of work projects. Are you still buying? Are you guys allowed to or not allowed to buy and trade cryptos? Is there like a rule against that or something because you work for a company, or is it pretty open season?
I don't trade. I buy spots, and it's all long term, and I've been fully allocated since I think 2 days after the FTX thing happened. So I'm simply cruising along and enjoying the run.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a good time. That was a good time to buy.
That was. I do have to give it to myself that I was on the fence of should I or not, because those days were pretty rough.
Yeah.
For everyone in the industry, the timeline on Twitter was in shambles. Everyone was like, "Yep, what will happen?" But in the end of it, it's always a conviction bet. I've seen Bitcoin from the Silk Road to what it is now, that actual FTSE 500 companies and NASDAQ companies hold it in their treasury. So it's still a long-standing conviction bet. Yeah.
Overall, the space isn't going anywhere. Bitcoin, I don't think, is going anywhere. a lot of projects are going to go to nothingness.
At the end of it, this industry is, I'd say, in its startup phase. It's still in its infancy, and so a lot of projects in here are startups within a startup industry. So that's projects will come and go, unfortunately, but that's simply how life and business is.
Yeah. If you compare it to the tech companies, I feel like it took about 25 years almost for Apple and Microsoft and like Web 2 companies to basically become the biggest companies in the world. So in terms of crypto, if you think it'll be somewhat similar to that, we're probably like halfway, like another 10, 15 years, and crypto will be like probably in like a really quite full level stage of adoption and maybe not as volatile.
Yeah, and the key difference is at Apple you have someone at the helm, but the fortune or demise of a blockchain, it only depends on the community and the builders of it, because it's their ecosystem, it's their piping, it's their platform to use and create things on top of. So there is no central entity that says, yes, you can do this on this blockchain or not. You can do whatever you want. It's just a computer that is owned by everyone that contributes to it.
So did you hold through? Have you held through all the market, all the bull and bear markets?
I had a lot more hair before this bear market. Let's put it this way. It's been a tough one, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same. I did the same as well. I mean, I started buying, I bought some Bitcoin in 2015, 2016. I remember like 2009, I think 2010, someone was like, you should buy Bitcoin. You should buy Bitcoin. And it was like $1 or something. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I was like, how do you sell it? They're like, well, you can't, you got to like find somebody who wants to buy it on the internet, you know? And I'm like, okay.
At the time it was, what was it? Bitcoin for Cash, I think. There was a platform that you could actually meet up with people in real life to actually buy Bitcoin off of them for cash.
Yeah.
That was the early stages.
That's when people were spending 10,000 Bitcoin on a pizza. That's insane. But I feel like, I don't know, I guess every bull cycle people are thinking, oh, maybe this is the bull cycle that's different. And now we have, because I feel like last bull cycle, there was a lot of institutional adoption. You had like billions and billions of dollars of investment coming into these companies. And you go, oh, well, the pension funds of Canada are investing in, they invested 150 million in Celsius. It's totally legit. And I just feel like this time around, I'm like, even though I'm so long-term bullish, and I would love to just like hold and I think if you do hold, especially Bitcoin, for like 20 years, 30 years, you're going to just probably make insane money. But the bear markets are just like brutal. It's
bad news after bad news after bad news after bad news. And they keep on coming until you realize that, wait, okay, it's been quiet for a month. Let's breathe. But the Canadian pension fund example is something that is extremely important, and it goes back to the core tenets of this industry, which is don't trust, verify. Only things that are on chain you can verify, and you can see if whatever is happening behind the scenes. So this is something that I think was learned from the previous cycle. And so all of the on-chain protocols actually kept on working through hardship, price up, price down, don't care. On-chain is on-chain, and it still works. If there is a middleman, if there is something behind the scenes, then all of a sudden you lose the trust.
Yeah. Well, in a way, I was thinking, because I remember the day FTX collapsed. I remember the day Celsius collapsed. I remember all of it. And I was buying a little bit. I should have gone bigger. I didn't go too heavy, but I was still buying, which has been great. But I feel like in a way, if you look at it, the things that survive the intense bear markets and all that bad news, and like you're saying, the chain's still operating. Tech, fundamentally, nothing's really changed. In a way, it proves it more, was the way I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, well, if this doesn't just go, if Bitcoin, only goes to 15,000, and we have like basically all the largest players right now going bankrupt and going to absolute zero, then that means that the next, or like the future, is going to go up. That was my general thinking of it. If the thing itself still works the same way, and it's really just like people who are over leveraged, major players that were making bad bets basically, and people getting liquidated, like massive players getting liquidated.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the chains were still chugging. And so that is the proof that this technology works, this technology is relevant, and this is the technology you should build the future of the financial system and your everyday life. So that is, bear markets are here to show that the technology is working. So it's
From a financial standpoint, how do you see the future of financials being built on Web3?
well, it's at the moment, what is it now? Stocks are settling in one day instead of 2 days on in the US. Just imagine instant finality, instant settlement. This means that you don't have to pay intermediaries a fee just to be sure that you don't have counterparty risk. The chain is there to remove counterparty risk. All of these things, the traditional financial system would be way more efficient if it's on chain, because a lot of the hurdles and hoops they have to jump through is because there needs to be a level of trust. And these systems, blockchains, are trustless. I can trade with you. In Algorand, we have atomic swaps, which means I can tell you, hey, I am going to give you 2 NFTs, you're going to give me 2 other NFTs. And you can set up the transaction that if I don't give them to you, you don't give them to me. It works. It either works both ways, or if one of the transaction fails, all of the swap fails. And these kind of primitives, there are 5 companies usually dealing with it in TradFi. So this is the first step that as soon as TradFi realizes it, they will start coming for the chains.
Yeah. Well, it's true that it is trustless and it's transparent, but if the system itself is not trustworthy, then that's where the transparency is not really it doesn't benefit the big financial system. And when you're used to trading crypto, it's interesting because you go onto an exchange to buy stocks and you're like, wait, the stock market's closed? Like, what does this mean? Like, this is so weird.
Yeah, I'm not used to it anymore. It's to be honest, sometimes seeing pre-market, wait, what is that? Yeah, true, it's closed. They'll open up at 9 when they wake up. Why?
That was the time when they were doing a bunch of stuff that you don't really know about, and for whatever reason,
cannot do anything about.
And for whatever reason, the price has fluctuated immensely from the time you've gone to sleep and you've woken up now, and now we're opening the doors to like everybody else to start trading. It seems like a no-brainer that as a retail investor, you're at a huge disadvantage. And when, like, for younger generations that are used to trading in crypto, besides the volatility, it's like trading in stocks. I don't know. It seems like it's a way less even playing field.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and there's no transparency on what these guys are doing. To kind of like somebody who's just getting into crypto and who's researching different layer ones, why do you think kind of people just getting into crypto, or so many people in crypto, lose so much money?
It's difficult to say, because I mean, if you make money, there's someone on the other side losing money. So it is as simple as that. And yeah, let's say things like aping into an address to hope for a pre-sale things, those things are kind of speak for themselves. There is gigantic risk. So it all depends on the risk appetite. And the thing is that people need to understand that if you're making money, someone else is losing it. But at the end of it, I am more interested in people building for crypto, because we're trying to legitimize the entire industry and improve the fact that if I want to send you a bank transfer, it'll take 7 days, whilst on Algorand it will only take 2.8 seconds, and the fee will be 0.001 Algo.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So if build, this is the only suggestion I say to people. Try and leverage the technology.
From the project side, what are the things you're most excited about with Algorand? Are there any projects being built right now that stand to stick out?
There are a few things coming that unfortunately I cannot speak of, but
Oh, no.
as far as that's unfortunate. They will hit the news soon. But as far as protocol upgrades, we have pure crypto stake didn't take into account consensus incentivization, we are calling it, which means if you run a node for Algorand, you don't get paid. You don't get paid to protect the network. This is going to change, and it's going to change real soon. The team at Algorand Technologies is developing it, and it's starting to come alive. So in the near future, you can run a node and get a reward for protecting the network. This is what I'm really excited about, because all of a sudden we are focusing on people that care about the network, the builders, and all of that.
So there's a reward programs for the node operators?
Yes.
But there hasn't always been, because with every layer one, the node operators get rewarded.
You'd think of it for Algorand, it was different, and we've seen in this blockchain that still running a computer 24/7 to protect a network is expensive, and you should be not rewarded, but simply you should have a reason why you need to protect the network. And so we are baking that into the protocol as we speak.
Have you seen any particular side of the development growing more than the others, such as gaming or NFTs or DeFi on Algorand? Is there something that it seems like developers are specifically choosing Algorand for?
There are a lot of tokenization applications on Algorand that are popping up, and there are quite a few DeFi applications coming up, especially given consensus incentives. We don't have the liquid staking part of it yet because there is no staking. So now that there will be staking, we all have this whole, let's say, Lidos of Algorand will come up and are starting to be developed. And so it's a fun time to be in Algorand DeFi, let's say.
Do you know when that's happening about the staking?
It should be later this year.
Okay.
I don't have an exact date, and it's fairly hard R&D, so timelines are always a bit gray.
Yeah, this might be, I'm not sure if you'll have an answer to this, or this might be kind of putting you on the spot a bit, but I feel like there is a narrative in the crypto space about the allocation of Algorand's tokens, and there's large basically unlockings, it seems like, of the tokens that people are saying, oh, this puts sell pressure on the Algorand token.
There is no unlocking. That I don't understand. We've been trying to reach out to all those websites because there is no unlocking. So the foundation has a treasury, and we, let's say, propagate the algos through XGov program, which is a way for community to decide what projects they want funded and what projects should receive funding for what they have already done. So both retroactive and proactive. And some operations, but there is no token unlocks, and the token supply is limited. So once that's dried up, it's dried up.
Interesting. So what are you working on now in your day to day in the projects?
We have just released Python. We are now planning on the next language, that is TypeScript. Always with the concept of meet developers where they are. So Python, most used programming language. TypeScript, if you're a web developer, you know JavaScript or TypeScript, whether you like it or not, because the web is on TypeScript and JavaScript. So we are working on that. We are also working on a new authentication mechanism that will be released really soon. We are going to announce it, I think, in 1 month-ish is ready to shine. And this is our interpretation of not your keys, not your crypto, but on how you interact with the chain. So if you go on MetaMask or pick your wallet, between you and the DeFi protocol that you're using, there are a few middlemen. This is extremely contradictory with the ethos of the industry. So we have found a solution on that, and we cannot wait to show the world. So that also connection with all of the protocols and all of the NFT marketplaces and everything you do on chain can be trustless as well.
So are you do you know, is Algorand going to continue to add new programming languages?
Yes, but this thing is going, it will take it step by step. And of course, we have developed Python in secret to make the big bang. And now with TypeScript, we are going to develop it completely in public, so that if a crazy developer wants to add their own programming language to Algorand, they can simply follow the guide that we will write as we do it. And so you can bring whatever language you want to Algorand. We have developed this compiler stack, the Puya compiler stack, which can accept whatever language. You need to code the part to accept the whatever language, and then it takes it through 7 different steps and brings it down to Algorand machine code. So that, because languages come and go, as always, so whatever language they want and whatever language is this year's craze, we can easily implement it, and it will be like 5-6 months progress, which usually creating something from scratch like that would take years.
Wow. Yeah. So you're kind of doing an open source type of thing to show developers if they want to add their own language to Algorand.
This is all of the steps that you need to take. This is all of the considerations. This is the legwork. These are the problems you will encounter. So think through first, because the sooner you think about them, the easier and the less code you'll have to rewrite. Wow. So we're going through this entire process in public, and yeah, it's to help foster innovation and because at the foundation we're a limited number of people. We cannot expect, we cannot do everything. So if we lead by example and show people how we do it, if someone wants something that we cannot do at the moment, or it's not aligned on our core goals, then they can follow the steps and do it themselves. That's what crypto is all about at the end of it.
That's like the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point is so the community can add to the network essentially and change the network. And I mean, having more coding languages just seems like an absolute no-brainer for any project to bring on adoption, and to have to learn a whole new language to develop or build something on the internet versus just building something in Web3, unless it's specifically for crypto on the blockchain. But if you're a developer that doesn't really need to be on the blockchain, because that's the goal, is to get developers just building in Web3, even if they don't really have to, I guess. That it's better than...
I mean, not everything has to be fully on chain, because it doesn't make sense to have everything on chain. You cannot store the amount of data, let's say Discord does on a daily basis on chain, because then all of the nodes would be gigantic data servers, and then you lose the centralization. But for the key pieces of infrastructure that you need low operational risk on them, so you need assurance that everything is there and it cannot mutate, then that is the perfect part where crypto is. So we expect dApps on normal Web2 apps that you use will leverage the chain for some pieces, but not be fully on chain.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we don't. You won't want so much congestion and just kind of useless data that doesn't need to be stored indefinitely or be trustless or be transparent or all the things that you get with the blockchain. Cool. We're getting close to the end here. I'm going to give you one last question, and it's kind of more a grandiose idea of Bitcoin and crypto. And I was trying to research the answer to this question. What happens after we mine all the Bitcoin? What happens when we hit the max supply of Bitcoin?
Technically, it will eventually happen, because I think Bitcoin can be only 8 decimal points. So the algorithm will end. The easy way out is it will be so far along ahead that it's our grandchildren's problem. This is the easiest way out, because it's, to be honest, there is no right answer. There is no actual answer to it.
Yeah.
So kick the can down the road and let's enjoy the ride.
That's so what it is, because it's like, oh, that's not going to be another 100 years or something. It's like over 100 years, which is like, we're not going to be around, most likely, unless they do some crazy. But that's really not very long in the history of technology and human. Like, we're going to be here probably in 180 years, or I forget the exact date of when Bitcoin finished mining and from the Bitcoin max list. But it's like, without the miners to validate the network and without reward.
Mind you, the miners still get most of their cut from the transactions processed in the block. So yes, the reduction will be there, but if Bitcoin still keeps on having full blocks and full transactions, then miners still are getting rewarded.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
but where's the reward come from?
From the transaction fees.
Oh, okay. They're just taking a cut of the transaction fee. That makes sense. There isn't actually any new like inflation, or we don't need to mine new Bitcoin. They'll just get a fee for validating the blocks.
Then the incentives of the block rewards given and reduced by halving sure helps kickstart it. But hopefully Bitcoin will be strong enough and popular enough to stand on its own two legs and just simply have miners feed off the transaction fees.
Yeah, there's going to be so much money into it that governments are going to have to subsidize the cost.
Can you imagine?
They're going to subsidize the cost of mining Bitcoin, or else like the whole financial institution will just collapse.
Yeah, that is our nephew's problems.
Do you think the bull market is just getting started, or do you think this cycle, this halving cycle? I don't know if you can say what you think or not.
I think it's starting. It's starting now. Some chains were more early risers than others, but at the end of it, it's happening. And what I like most about bull markets, it's the attention and adoption that chains get into that. In that period, because everyone is attracted by the shiny price go up, and then a lot of them stay there for the technology. So bull markets, yes, are good for price, but realistically, I like bull markets because all of a sudden you have a whole lot of brilliant people that come into the ecosystem for the first time and start playing around with it and get interested and start building on it. And every cycle this happens, we as an industry improve and have more things to do and get closer to mass adoption.